Most predators were not built for safe. They were built to dominate. And for millions of years, that's exactly what they did. These are three of the most terrifying hunters this planet has ever produced. Smilodon. The real Smilodon was so much more terrifying, so much more intelligent, and so much more complex than any Hollywood version has ever shown. And by the time I'm done, you're going to realize that losing this animal was one of the greatest tragedies in prehistoric history. Smilodon wasn't one animal. It was actually three separate species. And the biggest one, Smilodon populator, 600 pounds of pure compact muscle, broader and more powerfully built than any lion alive today. And those fangs, up to 11 inches long, curving downward like two biological hunting knives, were not for biting. Smilodon's bite force was actually weaker than a modern lion's. Those fangs were precision instruments. Smilodon would pin its prey completely immobile, position itself perfectly, and then drive those twin blades straight down into the throat or spine with its entire neck muscle system, like a biological hydraulic press. Death was instant, surgical, absolutely inevitable. But here's what genuinely separates Smilodon from every other predator of its era. It was a social animal. Scientists discovered this from a fossil record. Smilodon bones showing healed injuries that would have been completely fatal without help. A pack of these animals operating together, coordinated, intelligent, loyal to each other, was something no prey animal on Earth could escape from. Scientists say Smilodon vanished exactly 10,000 years ago. The Ice Age ended. The giant prey depended on mammoths, giant ground sloths, ancient bison, disappeared almost overnight, and Smilodon, so perfectly specialized for hunting megafauna, simply couldn't adapt fast enough. At La Brea tar pits in Los Angeles alone, over 166,000 Smilodon bones have been recovered from one single location. That tells you everything about how dominant this animal was, and how completely it disappeared. Indigenous tribes across North and South America have described massive fang cats for centuries, animals that match no known living species. In the dense cloud forests of South America, local communities still report encounters with enormous cats bearing oversized teeth. If you actually came face to face with a Smilodon, what's your first reaction? Drop it in the comments. Spinosaurus. You think you know about the biggest predator that ever lived, because it wasn't T-Rex. It wasn't even close. Meet Spinosaurus, 50 feet long, potentially over 20 tons. The largest carnivorous dinosaur that has ever existed on this planet. And science only figured that out recently. For decades, we had it completely wrong. Here's what makes Spinosaurus genuinely unlike anything else. It didn't just hunt on land, it hunted in water. Scientists discovered that its bones were dense and heavy, exactly like a modern diving bird, built specifically for staying submerged. Its nostrils sat high on its skull, so it could breathe while mostly underwater. Its feet were potentially webbed. This wasn't a land predator that occasionally waded. This was a full aquatic hunter the size of a school bus, and that sail on its back, up to 7 feet tall. Scientists believe it regulated body temperature, making Spinosaurus active and aggressive in conditions that slowed every other predator down completely. Its primary weapon? A skull like a giant crocodile, 6 feet long, lined with conical teeth perfectly designed for snatching large fish right out of the water. It hunted massive 10-foot sawfish, giant coelacanth, prehistoric sharks. In its river ecosystem, absolutely nothing was safe. Scientists say Spinosaurus vanished 95 million years ago when its North African river systems dried up. The ecosystem collapsed. The giant had nowhere left to hunt. But the Congo River Basin, one of the deepest, least explored river systems on Earth, still hides creatures science hasn't officially identified. Local tribes along its banks describe a massive creature they call Mokumbembe, matching no known living species. The rivers that built Spinosaurus still exist, deeper, darker, and almost completely unexplored. Inostrancevia. It was more terrifying than anything the dinosaur age ever produced. 252 million years old. And it wasn't even a dinosaur. It was actually closer to your ancestors than to any reptile. a Gorgonopsid, a predator so advanced, so perfectly engineered that it dominated every ecosystem it entered for millions of years. Picture a predator the size of a large lion, powerfully built, low to the ground, but that skull, almost entirely jaw, housing two massive saber fangs, each longer than your hand, curving downward like biological hunting knives. And unlike Smilodon, whose jaw strength was surprisingly weak, Inostrancevia entire skull was architecturally designed to maximize force behind those fangs. It could open its jaw nearly 90 degrees wide, driving those blades deep into the spine of prey far larger than itself. Death was instant, precise, inevitable. It hunted Dinosaurs, massive tusked herbivores the size of hippos. It didn't scavenge. It didn't wait. It tracked, ambushed, and executed a level of predatory intelligence that wouldn't be seen again for millions of years. For millions of years, Inostrancevia sat completely unchallenged at the top of its world. Then the Permian mass extinction hit, the most catastrophic extinction event in Earth's entire history, wiping out 96% of all species simultaneously. Inostrancevia went with them. But here's what stopped scientists cold. Nature has independently reinvented this exact body plan 3 separate times. Inostrancevia, then Smilodon, then Thylacosmolus. 3 completely different evolutionary lines, millions of years apart, all arriving at identical designs. Nature keeps rebuilding this predator because this design works perfectly, which raises one uncomfortable question. Is it really finished building it? If Smilodon, Spinosaurus, Inostrancevia, locked in one arena, no escape. Who walks out? Drop your winner below. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.